What's up, everybody? Hey, Tom Laird here, host of the Advice from a Call Center Geek podcast and founder of Expivia. For exceptional contact center outsourcing, trust Expivia. We're fully AI-driven, as all of you know, and can handle voice, email, chat, and all of your digital channels. Our 600-seat USA contact center is expert in healthcare, financial services, insurance, tech support, retail, and more. Experts on the NICE CX1 platform, we ensure seamless customer experiences. DM me or visit expiviausa.com for more.
This is Advice from a Call Center Geek, a weekly podcast with a focus on all things call center. We'll cover it all from call center operations, hiring, culture, technology, and education. We're here to give you actionable items to improve the quality of yours and your customers' experience. This is an evolving industry with creative minds and ambitious people like this guy. Not only is his passion call center operations, but he's our host. He's the CEO of Expivia Interaction Marketing Group and the Call Center Geek himself, Tom Laird.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another hopefully awesome episode of Advice from a Call Center Geek, the call center and contact center podcast where we give you, or at least try to give you, some actionable items that you can take back to your contact center, improve your overall quality, improve the agent performance. And the reason that we're here is to improve the customer experience. My name is Tom Laird. I am the CEO of Expivia Interaction Marketing. And you guys watching me online, you see kind of the setup here, right? Computer with Audacity. I do have this videoed, so if any of you guys are listening on the podcast, you want to look at it, check out my LinkedIn, check out our YouTube channel. We'll have this posted as well. But anyway, I wanted to talk today about the 7 core metrics of efficiency in your contact center. So we have talked kind of probably ad nauseum, where you guys are probably tired of me talking about what metrics really make up a world-class contact center. And the metrics that we're going to talk about today are the one side of the conversation. It's the agent side. It's your call center side, right? And then we have the other side, which is the customer side, which is sentiment scores, NPS, CSAT to a certain extent. And we put those together, and that's our new definition, right? Well, today we're going to focus just on how efficient your contact center is and the things that you need to be measuring to be as efficient as you possibly can to make sure that you're getting to calls, you're getting to customers. Because if you don't have these 7, right, if these metrics aren't benchmarked properly, then you can't have a world-class center, right? But if they are, it doesn't mean you do. Does that make sense, right? So let's kind of get into this. Again, these are 7 metrics that everybody should really know about, but let's drill down and see really how they affect efficiency and how you need to make sure that you have these benchmarked and they need to be tracked every single day. And I would say intraday, almost by the hour. Number 1 is service level, right? So there's a really cool blog post, and I forget who did it. It's just been out. It's February 1st here, by the way, as we're recording this. And it talked about, the origin of the 80-20 service level, or the 80-30, right? 80% of your calls answered within 20 seconds or less, or 80% of your calls answered within 30 seconds or less. That's pretty much the core, I guess, benchmarked industry standard that we kind of all go through. We do have clients that are at a 90-10, right? And that affects your staffing. So that's where service level kind of comes into play. Again, the percentage of calls answered within a certain time period. Industry average, 80-20, 80-30. Now, here's the cool thing that we have found, and this is, I think, relatively new, is with analytics, we can actually tell if that's good or not, right? Now, normally it's good, right? But sometimes it's quote unquote, and you probably guys are going to probably hate that I'm saying this, but it can be too good, right? It doesn't have to be there depending on what your customers kind of can withstand. So what we do is we benchmark sentiment scores based on time. That's one of the things that we do, and you can do with speech analytics. So we can say, hey, at an 80-30 or 80-20, all of your customers from a sentiment scores, none of the scores drop, right? So we don't get negative sentiment with that. Most of the time, what we see is about a minute 30, a minute 40 is when people start to get ticked off and they start to eke down to negative sentiment, or your negative sentiment percentage goes up, if that makes sense. People think a minute 30 is 5 minutes, right? And you guys all know that in your call center. When you hear like some manager or, an executive calls out like, hey, I have people that say they've been waiting 10 to 15 minutes and it's probably 2 to 3 minutes, right? So there's normally, we say kind of it's 3 times Sometimes double, but it's normally 3 times what they think is actually the reality of it. So, but on the flip side of that, we have found that customers, for most clients, are willing to wait about a minute to a minute 30. So think about that, and you can try to benchmark that with, if you're using CSAT, or one day just say, hey, we're going to kind of try to hit this 80-60. And I bet you a lot of the times there's not a lot of drop off in the negativity of customers. But once you get over that a little bit, it does. But so again, something to think about. Again, how efficient do you want to be compared to how efficient do you need to be? And that kind of comes into play a lot with a lot of even smaller internal call centers. So don't think if you're not hitting an 80-30 that things are just horrific. Now, if you're hitting, if your average speed of answer is 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, it's probably not good. But you get what I'm saying. Which leads us to the next metric, which is your ASA, which is your average speed of answer. And that correlates really well, makes sense, to service level. So again, average speed of answer can be kind of tracked 2 ways. A lot of our customers want to know the full speed of answer if they're using an IVR, right? And that kind of can get a little dicey. So we like to kind of keep it separate, and we do time in the IVR, and we can see that. And then we do average speed of answer for once, boom, they go into queue, or once they come out of the IVR. So think about that and how you're measuring that, because you want to do apples to apples if you're doing it with another part of your organization, or if somebody's saying, hey, our ASA is a minute 30, and other people say, why? Ours is 30 seconds. Sometimes that comes into play if they're counting time in the IVR, or they're counting time in an auto attendant. Best case scenario is, or I think benchmarking is, you would as soon as it comes out of any kind of servicing or self-service model, you want to track that separately. That's when the call center ASA starts, and I think that's when you need to track it. So again, that's your average speed of answer. You should watch that not only as a universal, but also watch it per rep, and we can kind of do that to make sure that if reps are choosing, if they can choose. Because some programs we have where they're actually, they have to hit and they're choosing to select a call depending on the type of program that's coming in. Other ones, they just get it, right? So depending on how your call center set up, make sure that you can look at that per rep as well. All right, the third efficiency is a huge one, and that's AHT, or average handle time, right? So that's kind of the cradle to grave. As soon as it kind of hits the queue to the end when you disposition the call. So the whole time that the call has kind of been in your possession, which is different than talk time, right? Which is when it gets to the rep. And that's just kind of like, I kind of say 7, it's probably 7.5, because, average handle time and average talk time for us kind of go hand in hand. So again, you're watching that, and then you can break down your handle time into certain things. So, if you're looking to be as efficient as you can, or if you have high handle time, you want to look at what is the after call work, what is the hold time, what is the time that the actual associate is in a talking state, and those are the things that you want to kind of look at from a handle time perspective. That number's great, but you really got to break it down to find out what pieces are they taking too long on. So handle time is huge. Again, handle time, average speed of answer, all those things affect your service level, which is kind of that top of the funnel statistic. The other piece that kind of goes with this, with handle time, is your after call work, or your wrap time. Some clients of ours call it wrap time. Other clients call it after call work. I came from an Avaya world. We were after call work. So again, this is basically the time that the customer hangs up and there's work to do after the call, right? So maybe they have to memo, maybe they have to submit, maybe they have to disposition the call. Depending on what your process is, normally we're 30 seconds or less, because we should be able to handle most of that during the call. But if not, if there's some significant work, then that's one of the ways that you need to look at how efficient your call center is. Because sometimes it's not just the rep on the phone, but it's the stuff that you have them doing after. And that's a huge piece of it that people miss, and that the call center gets beat up for, and we get beat up for a lot, when there's processes and procedures that we need to follow after the call's done. And you got to stay on the reps with it too, because this is after call work is something that, the experienced reps, they will play games with your ACW, right? And you got to make sure that they're going back available at certain times. So we've done certain things, like we can have our screens, if it goes over 30 seconds, they change color, they start blinking, right? There's certain little things or a little thing in the top right corner that says, hey, go back available, so that when a supervisor is walking the room, they can kind of look over, and if a screen is flashing, they can say, hey, Susie, come on, we got to go. We got to get available again to take more calls. You can obviously see that on your call center dashboards, but it's so much easier when you're walking the room. So that's kind of a really good tip is try to get some kind of timer on your screens. And there's a lot of widgets and things you guys can do with that to kind of get that to go. So a little bit of a tip. One thing we like to track, and that's on our dashboards everywhere, is kind of the calls in queue, which is obvious, but then that average time in queue. We want to make sure we know that. We want to make sure we benchmark that and that we're tracking that through the day. So, that's kind of our workforce optimization guys are really into that number, right? Because they want to make sure that we have a proper staffing number. So that kind of plays into right into the heart of your workforce management, the heart of your staffing, to make sure that if there's certain times every single day that your average time in queue goes up from 35 seconds to 4 minutes and 32 seconds, well, then there's a staffing issue, right? Especially if you see it kind of going on for a couple of days. So make sure that, that's a number that you're looking at, and you're looking at real time, which is important because, you want to say, hey, oh my gosh, we have, 17 calls here for 5 minutes. We got to get to them. That's one piece of it. But then you need to use that stat as kind of an analysis as well. Look at previous days and kind of see what that number and how it bell curves to make sure that you're staffed appropriately with that. And then, I think kind of one of the last, number 7 here is occupancy. And occupancy is a number that correlates not only to efficiency, but rep burnout. So I think it's a really, really, really important statistic to have. So basically the general definition of it is the time that a rep is in any kind of live call plus any kind of working on the call afterwards. So basically it's live call plus after call work is kind of the general, the calculation for how you get occupancy, right? And then you kind of times that by the hour to get the percentage of that. So out of a 60-minute hour, what percentage of the time are they on a call or working on that call? And for a benchmarking, we try to do 75% or basically 45 minutes out of the hour. So if you have a 60-minute hour, 45 minutes out of the hour, they should be in some kind of working state. That other 15 minutes can be everything from they're waiting for calls, taking a breather, breaks. Everything kind of gets thrown into that 15 minutes of every hour. So that's kind of a huge important thing. So you can be too efficient and you can burn reps out. So if you were at 95% efficiency, I would say you're doing a horrible job, right? Because you're going to have people leaving, you're going to have higher turnover. Unless this is a really fun type program where reps love to be on the phone all the time. And if you have that program, send it to me and I'll give you a huge discount on doing that. But I think it's really important that we're cognizant of the effort that the associates make. We're cognizant of their time to take a breather, right? Get a drink of water, get a Coke, get a snack in them. That's important. Now, you don't want to drop, right? So if you're seeing, your occupancy number going to, 30 minutes out of the hour or 50%, that's kind of an issue. Now, for us and for a BPO, it's a little bit different. So we basically, and I do occupancy based on how long are they if we're getting paid by the minute, how long are they in a paid state for me? So if I'm getting paid for, handle time, hold time, after call work, then, we're going to use that number as, and I'm going to benchmark after call work. So we're not just going to hang out in after call work, but, if they're in that threshold of 30 seconds or less, we're going to try to get them again with our client, and that's how we do our workforce management to be, in that 70 to 80% efficiency, working about 45 minutes out of the hour. And obviously, it's kind of the same thing with if we're getting paid or billed by the hour. That's a number that I look at every single day. That's a number that the supervisors look at every day. We can actually see rep occupancy. So we benchmark it as a program, and then we benchmark it through reps as well. And that's something we talk about with agent analysis. So if we have a rep that has a lower occupancy, right, means they're working less per each hour. Well, let's find out why, right? Is it because they're hanging out after call work, right? Is it because they're just going unavailable? What is it? What is it depending on how we're judging occupancy for that client? And we want to make sure that, what's fair is fair is, we're not going to kill you here, but we got to put in that time, that we're billing for a client. So I think that's the core, kind of 7.5 metrics that you need: average speed of answer, service level, average handle time / talk time. And I think we talked about abandonment rate, right? So, that's kind of in there too. Just the percentage of calls that you're abandoning. I don't know. That's important, but if you're really doing these other metrics, you should be okay if you're kind of benchmark that. You have your after call work or your wrap time, the calls or the time in queue for each of your calls, and then I think a really important number is your occupancy number, making sure that one, you're efficient as you possibly can, and two, that you're not burning reps out. If you said, Tom, you could only have 3 metrics that you could use, I would use occupancy, I would use service level, and I would use average handle time. Because some of the other ones are redundant, right? Like average speed of answer, if I'm not answering in the proper time, my service level is going to go down, right? They just kind of drill down to more specifics of it. So you can kind of just really stay with those 3 metrics, right? If you had to choose, but adding those other things in, you really get a good view of kind of where everything is. So that's what I got for you guys this week. So again, 7 kind of core efficiency metrics that you need to have in your call center. Again, it doesn't tell you if you're a world-class center, but you can't be a world-class center without them. Making sure that we're benchmarking, make sure that each rep knows these KPIs, make sure that you have them benchmarked, right? So every single program that you have, you know exactly what you want from a KPI standpoint, and that's what your supervisors are trying to hit every single day. That's why it's important to really benchmark and see what works in your contact center. Again, last little parting thing, we have more advice from a Call Center Geek. The book is selling awesome now. Word's kind of getting out on that. Check that out on Amazon. Please go to the Advice from a Call Center Geek community. Sign up for the community. I'll let you in right away. Introduce yourself, and we're trying to get some conversations going. That's going up high with numbers of followers. We have the Advice from a Call Center Geek YouTube channel. Every single day I'm posting videos, guys, from daily call center tips to behind the scenes stuff that we're doing here at Expivia. Check that thing out too. Really want to try to really grow that here in 2020, and then check out, guys, it's really good, the expiviausa.com blog, right? Every single episode that we have here, we turn into blog posts, and we go more in depth into them. So it's kind of the written format of the podcast, plus some other things that we're doing from an internal standpoint that I think is really interesting from the call center perspective. So again, thank you guys for listening. Post those reviews, keep them coming, especially you iTunes listeners. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you guys next week.